It's going to start in about 5 seconds.
Jackie, I think you need to turn your camera off.
Yeah, it started.
Okay. I, Denise Park, do hereby give notice that a meeting of the Blackburn with Darwen Borough Council Forum will be held via remote meeting on Thursday, the 1st of October 2020 at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Denise. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Council Forum. And I also welcome any members of the public that are watching. I'll just go through the procedure of the meeting. This meeting is being held virtually in accordance with Part 2 of the Local Authorities Police and Crime Panels, Regulations 2020, and the Council's Supplementary Council Procedure Rules. In summary, the regulations are brought in as a response to the coronavirus epidemic. They remove the requirement for members to be physically present in the room. They allow us to debate, participate, and vote through remote video conferencing while observing the social distancing and measures needed to restrict the spread of the virus. Can I ask all members and officers to observe the following principles? Please mute your microphone and turn off your video at all times unless I have called upon you to speak. Remember to mute your microphone and turn off your video again when you are finished. Indicate at the start of the meeting if you wish to speak and through the MS Teams chat channel. If you wish to speak again, I will call members to speak at my discretion and according to the demands of the agenda. In terms of voting for a small meeting, I will ask each councillor in turn. In terms of voting for a large meeting, the votes will be determined by a consensus. If there is no consensus, voting will be carried out by a roll call. Thank you. Can I ask Denise to go through the procedure as well, please?
Yes, thank you. Just to clarify that for members, as the Mayor has said, we will ask all agreed, but there is no need for you to verbally agree. If you object to any of the recommendations, please indicate and we will either have to move to a vote or record that. And do use the chat to indicate when you want to speak. I'll be monitoring that and will advise the Mayor of those members requesting to speak. So, Mr. Mayor, the first item of business is to receive any apologies for absence.
Is there any apologies for absence?
No, we've had apologies from Councillor Neil Slater. Are there any other apologies for absence?
Councillor Jackie Floyd, she's just having trouble logging in, so she's attempting to log in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Mayor, the next item of business is to receive prayers from your chaplain.
Thank you.
There's a slight delay as this loads, but we'll just pause for a moment.
Okay.
If you
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم. Allah Almighty mentions in the glorious Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فبما رحمة من الله لنت لهم. So it is by the mercy of Allah that you, O beloved Messenger, were gentle towards them. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَظًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. And if you had been harsh and hard-hearted, then these people would have dispersed from around you. فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ. So pardon them and seek forgiveness for them. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. And consult them in matters of concern. فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. And once you have reached a firm decision, then put your trust in Allah. Inna Allah yuhibbul mutawakkilin. Indeed, Allah loves those who put their trust in Him. No doubt we are experiencing a very difficult situation and we are going through testing times. In these circumstances, it is our duty to help one another and protect one another. And one of the ways this can be achieved is by sharing our positive opinions, sharing our thoughts and consulting one another. Once we come to a firm decision, then it is our trust in Allah to aid us for a positive outcome. We pray that Allah Almighty protect us from all calamities and all illnesses, and we pray that Allah Almighty grant us patience throughout these testing times. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen.
Amen.
Amen.
The next item of business is to receive and confirm the minutes of the annual council meeting held on 16th of July 2020.
I move those minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Are these minutes seconded?
Seconded.
Any comments on the minutes?
I always forget to do something.
There's no one indicating, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All agreed?
Yeah.
Yes, those minutes are agreed unless anyone indicates they object.
Thank you.
The next item of business is to request any declarations of interest.
Any declarations of interest?
No. In that case, Mr. Mayor, the next item of business is to receive your mayoral communications.
Thank you, Denise. It has been a difficult few months. There's not much been going on as the mayoral front. This is not the usual mayoral speech that is made at the council forum, but these are not usual times. Indeed, we are in unprecedented, challenging times, and there is still uncertainty ahead of us all. Everyone has suffered during these last 6 months of lockdown and restrictions, and there have been sad times and anxious times for a lot of people. But there has also been hope and a lot of community spirit as the borough got used to this new norm we are all living in. I would like to say that I'm hugely proud of the way our council has responded to this crisis. We swung into action straight away and have always done our best for every member of our community. I know a lot of people are suffering, a lot of people are fed up, and we all just want this to be over. There is a bit further to go yet, and I know that we will keep going. We are great coming together in the borough, and together I know we can do this. I want to give massive thanks to my colleagues, both councillors, officers of the council, and all the volunteers in the borough for all your hard work and support in this truly strange and challenging year. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, can I advise you that no questions have been received under Procedure Rule 12 for Council Forum, and no notices of motion have been submitted under Procedure Rule 10. So the next item of business is to receive reports from and updates from other committees of the council, and firstly that is a report from the Standards Committee, and it's Councillor Afzal.
Councillor Afzal, do you want to present the report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you all hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've just there's a report in front of the members that's just for noting, but just briefly, it relates to the draft model code of conduct, which the committee has gone through all the questions and presented a submission. Individual members were provided a link should they want to offer their individual opinions as well. In addition, the Committee on the Standards in Public Life have made a number of recommendations which the committee will review at our next meeting and present those to you at the policy forum in December. Just one more item that's not in the papers is we've extended the terms of our independent persons, that's Alan Eastwood and Stuart Wright, until the 3rd of December, as currently we're undergoing an advertising process which people, if they should wish to, can access from Blackburn with Darwen website, and we will update the new appointments in December. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Councillor Afzal. Is there any comments or questions on this report?
There's no one indicating they've got any questions, Mr. Mayor.
If there's no questions or comments, this report has been approved if there's no objections.
Mr. Mayor, I do believe a verbal report is required from the scrutiny committees.
Coming on to that now, Councillor Liddle.
Yes, we're going on to that now.
Okay,
Right.
so I think you can accept that report from the Standards Committee, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And then we will move on to the verbal updates from the chairs of the scrutiny committees. And the first one is people overview and scrutiny, which is Councillor Liddle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Just a brief update, the progress of the People Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which met on the 14th of September, and this was in line with the agreement of all chairs and vice chairs of scrutiny. We'd had a previous meeting and decided that the committee would focus on the effects of COVID-19 on the borough. We looked at two key issues. The first being how the council was working to prevent the spread of the virus in the borough, including track and trace and the testing. We also looked at how the council and partners were working to ensure that the take-up of the flu vaccines was as high as possible to prevent the potential hospital winter pressures from both COVID-19 and influenza. The committee commended the hard work that the council and partners were doing, and we requested regular updates at each of its meetings. The second issue the committee looked at was the return to school and the services for children. We were made aware of the issues that had been addressed and the detailed planning that had ensured that pupils, teachers, and of course all staff could return safely, and the measures that would be followed should there be a case at school. The committee were assured that safety was the main priority when trying to ensure that pupils received the education they needed. And we also looked at the other services provided by the Children's Services Department and how they had met their challenges presented by the virus. The committee, of course, will continue to look at how the work continues and develops over the coming year and to meet the needs of children safely. So that's as brief as I can be, given that we did have 3 presentations on that evening. And I do thank the exec members who attended, Councillor Julie Gunn and Councillor Damien Talbot, and indeed the respective directors as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Mr. Mayor, there's no one indicating they wish to ask any questions on Sylvia's update. So the next update would be the Place Overview and Scrutiny Committee from Councillor Cornat, if there is anything to update.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Mayor, we had our meeting once again. It was a rearranged meeting, which happened on 21st of September. The meeting was well attended, although it was, one of those virtual meetings, and that we had in-depth information on the support and going to the businesses locally in the borough. It was in-depth, I say, because we already get information from the Janice Park Chief Executive Regular. So this was from Phil Riley's portfolio, looking after the businesses, and that. so which members who attended appreciated and asked several questions overall what's happening and the way forward and the way things are happening. Now, looking ahead, we've had a lot of issues in terms of recycling, and in particular this year, we've had a new blue bins in 2020. So we're looking forward to the next meeting in December, where Environment will be invited to go through the challenges the borough has been facing on recycling and what we've done about it. So it was all in all, good meeting happened and good meeting looking forward to the end of the year. Happy to take any questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Councillor.
must thank the.
Councillor Corner.
Sorry, I was just
Any
saying thank you
questions or
to.
comments on this report?
There's no one indicating, Mr. Mayor.
So that's moved and carried.
Mr. Mayor, if I may just thank Councillor Riley and the team who came, spent a lot of time prior to the meeting and giving all the information and facts and figures, which was wonderful to to have. In fact, we've not had those type of figures for a long time. So I must thank Phil Riley and his team for all the information he provided and they provided. Thank you.
Councillor Corner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next update is from the Chair of Policy and Corporate Resources, Overview and Scrutiny, and that's Councillor Harling.
Go ahead, Councillor Harling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to give a verbal update on the latest PNR Overview and Scrutiny Committee, but unfortunately it was cancelled. It should have met on Monday this week. It was cancelled for an urgent call-in meeting, which was questioned because it was the extension of an agreed lease for the new Real Cinema from 20 to 25 years. It was called in by the Tories. However, none of the Tories on the call-in committee turned up, and none of the Tories who called in the decision turned up either. It was an utter waste of everybody's time. It was and everybody's time and important council resources. This has never happened before. It's outrageous, inexcusable and embarrassing. Perhaps they realised that the case they were going to put forward was so pathetic that that they didn't turn up. But they should have withdrawn their call-in to stop the farcical meeting and the waste of resources. Just to inform the council that the call-in did proceed, it approved the executive member's decision to extend the lease, and I understand that that will be finalised this week. Ironically, Mr. Mayor, one of the reasons for the call-in was robust scrutiny of this decision is essential, but they didn't turn up. So it makes it even more farcical. None of them turned up, Mr. Mayor. I just wonder where they all were. Thank you very much.
Councillor Harling. Is there any comments?
Mr. Mayor, there's no one indicating they wish to speak on that update. So I think you can accept the update.
Excuse me, it's Councillor Slater. I have indicated I wish to speak.
There's nothing in the chat, Councillor Slater, but you
Councillor
wish to
Slater,
speak.
if you've got any comments to make, please go ahead.
I've got two comments to make. First of all is that we were not asked if we were available for the Tuesday, Councillor Harling. None of us were, unfortunately. And secondly is, I will make a comment to the leader about this when he comes round to his portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Slater. Dave, do you want to come back?
Yes, my understanding is, and there was a lengthy report from the chief executive that was read out at the call-in meeting, which explained what had happened and the fact that the meeting had been delayed for a day because the information requested by the Conservatives could not be provided until a day after they'd requested. So that was seen as a proportionate amount of delay, and from a group of that size, one would have expected at least a handful of members could have made the Tuesday meeting. It's not unreasonable. I just think it's embarrassing that they didn't bother turning up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harling. if there's no further objections,
No one else indicating, Mr. Mayor.
that is approved then. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, the next item of business is to receive the reports of the leader and the exec members with portfolios, and the first report is from the leader, Councillor Khan.
Councillor Khan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move my report, and I have to say a few things on one or two items. First one is Community Volunteer Award. It is sad that we had to cancel this annual Community Volunteer Award ceremony this year. But I'm sure my colleagues and residents that I hope they understand why we cancelled it. And it's always wonderful to say thank you to those people who have been doing a wonderful job for benefit of the community, and especially the last 6 months. They've done a fantastic job to help the most vulnerable people in our community. And I can assure you that when things get better, we are going to recognize them. We are going to say a big thanks to them because they've done a wonderful job. On the issue of Lancashire Local Authority reorganization, Mr. Mayor, we were expecting the devolution white paper 7th of September, and today is 1st of October. However, it seems this is going to be delayed yet again. This is very frustrating for the Lancashire as a whole, especially for us. We put our application asking for an invitation about 1 year ago, but unfortunately, we are still waiting for it. This is causing a lot of frustration and bad feeling in the part of the Lancashire, because other neighbouring authorities like Manchester, Liverpool, Merseyside, Leeds, Sheffield, they are all getting a lot of money from the government devolution deal, and we are still waiting for it. And I hope the government will be able to make some decision quickly that we are going to leveling up our resources here in Lancashire. Issue of COVID, Mr. Mayor, as you highlighted, these are a very difficult time. We have a significant impact on all our lives. I did like to take the opportunity to thank all our staff, resident businesses who have been following the national guidance. And I think big majority of the people that do that, but there are still minority of the people who probably don't care about it. And that is our concern. We do appreciate the confusing and conflicting message coming from the central government. And it's very difficult for the people and businesses and residents to understand those messages, which are very confusing. But I think the main message is that we have to follow the guidance to make sure we are going to control this virus. I'm very, very concerned that I hope things will get better in Lancashire or probably the rest of the country. Otherwise, it could be other lockdown, which I will like to say I will really hate if somebody is going to close the businesses or faith center or other places. So my plea to my colleagues, councillors, is please keep pounding the message to your community, obey by the rule, follow the guidance, wash your hand, use your mask, keep the distance, don't go into other people's home. And that is the only way forward we will be able to control this virus. So please, my request to all the communities, please follow the guidance. We could be in a difficult situation if we are not going to do it. Other part of the country, I think they are going to get a lot of restriction. We are okay. I think we can confirm with the Secretary of State there's not going to be any new restriction on Blackburn or Darwin or probably Lancashire. But only way that if we can control this virus, we'll be in a better position. So everybody need to keep this in mind. We must follow the guidance, and that is the only way forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will take any question on my report. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Is this report seconded?
Seconded.
Any questions or comments on this report?
Mr. Mayor, there's no member indicating in the chat that they wish to speak.
Denise, I think there's something wrong with my chat thing. I just want to comment to Councillor Khan, if I can, please.
I've indicated.
Well,
So there's two members.
Okay, we have two members, Councillor Slater and then Councillor Brown.
Councillor Slater, go ahead.
Councillor Khan, just three things. First of all, is the Conservative group take great exception to what happened about the calling, and I was going to inform you at the executive board, but as the executive board has been cancelled, I inform you now that we have in the process of making a formal complaint about the council's unprofessional behaviour regarding to the calling, and that is all I'm prepared to say on that matter. The second one is the unitary authority, or as it stands at the minute, there is no appetite to join Blackburn with Darwen in a three-tier system. The only thing that's being looked at is into two, and after what happened with our group over the call, and I'm oddly surprised that that's the case. And as for COVID, I do agree with you totally. I think that the council and the people are doing as much as they can, and I hope that the measures that we are taking start to take effect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Slater. Councillor Paul Brown.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question to the leader of the council is this. He was just going on about we must follow the code of conduct to try to alleviate this disease we're going through. Well, can I ask him if he will get in touch with all the people in this borough who are running taxis who are not wearing masks, and yet they're asking the passengers to wear a mask, and the drivers will not put their masks on. Now, come on, let's be fair. If you want to do the job, let's do it right. And that's all I've got to say on the matter. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Khan, do you want to come
Councillor Bateson now, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Maureen Bateson. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was just a point that I wanted to make. I was at the call-in on Tuesday night. I can only say that it was done very professionally, and it was done in accordance with the way call-in should be done, apart from the fact that we didn't have the people there who asked for the call-in. But I've checked all my emails, and apart from one member who was on the original call-in, I've seen no apologies from any other member. I may be wrong, and they may have sent them in another format, but only one member I'm aware of made an apology.
Thank you, Councillor Bateson. Councillor Khan, do you want to come back?
Anybody else, Mr. Mayor?
There's no one else indicating, Councillor Khan.
Councillor
Oh,
Khan.
sorry, Councillor Sidat.
Councillor Sidat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a bit disappointing, actually, but you arrange a call-in. At least the Tory party should have had the decency to cancel it or let the chief exec know that they're not going to turn up, or there's something wrong with the procedure. But just not to turn up, that's absolutely disgusting behaviour. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sidat. Any
Councillor Cornett.
Councillor Cornett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the point about help and assistance, I just wanted to let it be known and thank that the organising of weekly meetings by Syed and through the chief exec, of course, are very fruitful, very helpful. The burial cemetery and the Lancashire Council of Mosques, everybody's been working wonderful. And the information supplied on a regular weekly basis has been very helpful, because we've all been talking to people regular on the information and how we can, work around together. So the volunteers get information regular. So our weekly meetings, please keep them up. So a big thank you from us all on that one.
Councillor Jan Vermani.
Councillor Jan Vermani, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's regarding call-in. Mr. Mayor, I would like to thank Councillor Dave Harling for chairing that meeting. And the process was, we went through the process. The councillors who were there, they did question the exec member, Councillor Phil Riley, and Officer Simon Jones. It was regarding this 5 years extension real cinema. What I would like to see through the process, if it is possible, Mr. Mayor, that next time it doesn't happen, that a lot of time was wasted. I had a couple of meetings. I had to cancel it to attend this meeting, and I look after my grandchildren as well. But that's on the other side. What I would like to see, Mr. Mayor, that the leader and the leaders of two opposition parties get together, that if a call-in is been made and if people are not able to make it as the councillors, then that should be cancelled. There should be a process which we should go through. We will all be arguing that I can make it and I can't make it. Times are hard with COVID now and other things which are happening. It's going to make it very, very difficult. But I think we should look at the officers, with officers and the three leaders get together and talk about this call-in process and bring it back to us in our council forum. We debate about it and then follow the process. But the call-in which was made, which was called in, where the councillors could not attend, there'll be plenty of reasons they didn't attend. Yes, I can understand that. I'm not going to take their side or our side. There are times where the officers cannot give us the information which we need, and by the time we get it and the call-in is time has been met. But what I would like to see, Mr. Mayor, is the new process comes in, terms and conditions are given for that call-in, and hope we take it forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Floyd.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's to the taxi drivers' understanding, and when we were congratulating our colleagues in public and social care earlier on, that all the taxi drivers at quite a cost to the council have been provided with screens, and therefore they wouldn't have to wear a mask as they're in front of that screen. And unfortunately, the enforcement of wearing masks of perhaps mini cab drivers and other is discretionary and isn't actually a law that we could enforce. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackie Floyd. Any further comments?
There's no one else indicating, Mr.
Councillor Khan, do you want to sum up?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will take the Councillor Braun remark. I fully respect him because I think we need to advise everybody to wear the mask when they are in public building. And also, I think we provided the safety screen for taxi driver. I was up there when they were putting the screen up, and I really thanks the council staff and other people who have done a wonderful job. And I think everybody has to do their bits to make sure we are going to protect ourselves and protect other people. There is no issue about it. And I think there are some people exempt from the wearing the mask, but those people should be asthmatic or COPD or other places. So I probably will send a message again to the taxi driver. They have to show the example that we are playing the game. And I think I know there is a screen there, but I think I probably asked the licensing department to make sure there's nobody sitting with them on front seat. I hope they are obeying that rule too. So I think there are a number of people who probably we will be able to make sure we are going to send them clear message. So there's no problem, Councillor Brown. I think your point is valid, and I think we will send a message to the community as a whole, and especially the taxi driver, to make sure they are abide by the rules. Mr. Mayor, I think number of my colleagues, especially the Solly Conyer, make the remark, and I'm part of that committee, and I think a number of volunteers who are doing a fantastic job about the community safety and about the burial and about the funeral and other places, which I really admire. And I think they have given their time, their effort, free of charge to the community. And I really thank them from the bottom of my heart. And also the 3 or 4 councillors who are part of this committee, burial committee, and other people from Lancashire Council of Mosque. I think they really gelled together to make sure they are going to show really unity for the benefit of the people of this borough. I will come back to the Councillor Slater complaint to the Secretary of State. That's your right, John. I have no problem with it. but I think I was fully engaged with the chief executive and other officers to make sure everything will go on the time. Unfortunately, you asked the information on Wednesday and your deadline was Thursday. We must receive this information on Thursday. Unfortunately, that information was not given, and that's where we said to chief executive that we should give them that information on Friday latest. And that's what they did. They give you information on Friday. You lost 1 day, but we are giving you one more day. Instead of 28th of September on Monday, we arranged the meeting on 29th of September, 6 o'clock. So looking at Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday till 6 o'clock, it's almost 5 days, John. And if your group are your people who are going to scrutinize the Federale decision, if they cannot digest this information in 5 days, God help us. And I think I have looked at all information because there was call in probably July 2018 when the initial project was put forward, and majority of the question was related to that call in. And I think, to me, I think Council done everything possible to accommodate you. And I was really surprised when I heard on Tuesday that you said none of my members is available. So I went again to office and I asked the scrutiny officer that please ring them. This meeting is still going on. Please come and do your job. But unfortunately, I'm very disappointed, John. Out of your 12 members, excluding you, I think 11 members, none of them was available to attend the meeting. And that was a virtual meeting, sitting in a home, in your kitchen, living room, anywhere. And you're going to have scrutinized this business very well. But my disappointment is out of 11 members, no one was available. And that was the answer. Nobody is available on that time. I don't know what you guys were doing and who is showing profession on a professional position here. And I think that behavior is not really acceptable. We are responsible as an elected member to make sure council is in safe hand, and we are going to protect the council and we are going to protect our community. And I think this time, I think the real issue was, I've been saying from day one when this company came in that I would like to have a 25-year lease, but they were elected. My thanks to the officer. I think they've done a good job. They really convinced them end of the day to have 25-year lease, and I was very pleased about it when decision was made on 11th of September that we got what we wanted. And that was extra money for the list council. So I don't know what was the problem from your side that you failed to send the people to scrutinize that decision. But at the end of the day, I think chief officer and monitoring officer made the decision that this call-in will go ahead. And I think they've done a professional job and decision was made. And we are going to sign the 25-year lease instead of 20-year. So John, I'm very disappointed. I have great respect for everybody, even they are Tories or Liberals or whoever they are. I never insulted anybody in my life. And I think I have great respect for Councillor Connor. I knew him for many number of years when he was a Liberal, when he became the Tories. And I think he's a gentleman and he was willing to come to chair the meeting on Monday, but unfortunately, because of your instruction, he was unable to come. And I'm really disappointed, John, but you have right to make the complaint, and that's your right. I hope somebody look at the whole system clearly, and they probably will say there is nothing wrong with it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Is this report seconded?
I think, Mr. Mayor, if you just need to ask whether there are any objections and that report can be accepted.
Is there any objections? If not, then this report is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next report is from the Executive Member for Public Health and Wellbeing, Councillor Talbot.
Go ahead, Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just in moving the report, I just wanted to give a few verbal update points. first of which is a really good piece of news. I think hopefully a number of members will be aware that we started a crowdfunding campaign to support the public halls, Darwen Library Theatre and King George's Hall. We've just had news today that we've passed our initial target for Darwen Library Theatre, which was £3,000, and we had a contribution from Paddy McGuinness of £1,000. So that's a fantastic piece of news there. We've had a number of other donations as well. So thanks to everyone who's supporting those. It's very difficult in these times, but thanks on that one. The other couple of points in moving the report just relate to it's a very important month in public health. Apart from the ongoing work that we're doing, this is of course October, so we have Stoptober and we have Go Sober for October as well as national campaigns. And I think this year more than ever really, these campaigns are important to encourage smoking cessation and encourage reduction in consumption of alcohol as well, because we need the community to be in the best possible position to cope with the challenges that COVID's bringing as we go forward. So just with those updates, I'd like to move the report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Talbot. Is this report seconded?
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Firstly, Councillor David Smith.
Dave Smith, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just today, that's fantastic news about Paddy McGuinness making that donation. Maybe we could get one now from Peter Kay as well. That would be even more fantastic. My point is on the leisure services. It says about Darwen Leisure Centre. To ensure numbers are controlled, phase 1 is available for direct debit and annual members only. The programming will be developed as we move forward. Obviously, this applies to Blackburn Sports Centre and Witton Park as well.
Thank you, Dave.
Again. So my question to Damien is, have you got any news, please, on what's happening going forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Any further questions?
Councillor Julie Slater.
Julie Slater, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Julie Slater.
Sorry, hang on. My sound's gone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, Damien. I'm really pleased about the World Suicide Day. It's really, really important for the borough, especially with the times that we're going through for everyone's mental health. I think there's so many added pressures on our support systems within the council and our commissioning agencies and everything. So I'd like to thank all those people for all the support and the offer that they're actually offering the residents. I wish we could do more, but that's why I'm pleased that the leisure centres have opened a little bit as well. So exercise is good for mental health, and I've been telling a lot of my residents to go for walks, fresh air, you know, even if they can't get to the gym, just to help clear the mind. Even I've been doing it and I found some new walks, so that really helps. My concern is as well, obviously with COVID, is I've not been getting the briefings that I would like, Damien. I've been finding out the information on internet and through other sources. So I was just wondering if you and I could work together closely and have more updates rather than my residents finding out the updates before I do. So, you know, if we could work closely together with the reports and things like that, Damien, it would be great if you can contact me tomorrow sometime and we can arrange something. Is that okay?
Thank you, Julie Slater. Any further questions or comments?
There are no other members indicating they wish to speak.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if you'd accept a late request from Councillor Akhtar Hussain.
Yes, Councillor Akhtar is fine. Councillor Damien Talbot, you want to come back?
Are you going to?
You want to take Councillor Akhtar? Mr. Mayor?
Well, thank you very much. I was very pleased about the Corporation Park. People do go there and enjoy, and it's very good schemes. Thank you very much, Damien.
Thank you, Councillor Akhtar. Councillor Damien Talbot, do you want to come back?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Damien, I think you've gone on mute.
Still on mute.
Oh, I've made the schoolboy error. Sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think, as I was saying, I think it'd be fair to say we're all absolutely delighted when Darwen Leisure Centre reopened to members at the beginning of September, and then Blackburn Sports and Leisure Centre and Whitton 2 weeks ago. Everyone agrees, and it's been said tonight, how important physical activity is, and the role that our leisure facilities play in that. It's clear, though, as the report refers to, in the current situation, it was inevitable that the centres wouldn't initially open on the same basis that they had been open previously. And what I would like to do really is pay tribute to all the staff for all the work that they've done over the last few weeks and months in getting the centres prepared and looking at the guidelines as to how they can be COVID safe as well. It's been a big piece of work at a difficult time. As Councillor Smith mentioned, we've talked about a phased approach, and the first phase of that was to open to gym members, and obviously with the best will in the world we can look at the guidance and plan the layouts and so on, but until you start to get people into the buildings you don't really have a feel for how it's actually going to work. So the first point about that was just seeing people into the buildings and seeing how things worked. We've got through that phase, and I'd just like to share, before I just go on to where we are at phase 2, I just want to share a comment that we had from a member who said this: went to Blackburn Leisure Centre, well organised, pleasant staff, and I felt safe. Excellent systems in place. I think the service have done a thoroughly good job, even more impressive given what a torrid time we're all experiencing at the moment. And that's just come in actually earlier today as it happens. So now we are moving to a next phase, a phase 2, which we're going to introduce from the 16th of October, so in a couple of weeks. And that's going to include things like increased opening times to accommodate extra early morning class and gym, later swim and class as well, finishing at 9:15, increased swimming lane capacity from 4 to 6, aqua classes, school swimming lessons to resume, swimming club to resume at Darwen Leisure Centre, classes to start at King George's Hall. So we're going to start using that facility as well because we've got the capacity in there because the hall's not open for a theatre at the moment. And then a number of other things as well, increasing the gym capacity at Darwen Leisure Centre. As soon as possible after that, we will move towards general opening for non-members. But again, we want to make sure that that's working. And I'm sure you'll understand, Councillor Smith, that it's the safety of the staff and all the users of the centres that's first and foremost in this. So we've got to make sure that things are working. So I'm grateful for people bearing with us. And we'll move forward as soon as we've got past that phase 2, so as soon as practically possible, in the hope that the government doesn't kind of bring in any measures that shut us down in that way. Just on Councillor Slater's point, yeah, thanks for your comments on World Suicide Day. It's such a shame we weren't able to have some of the big physical events that we had last year and that we always have, and I know you supported those events a lot, but it's a massively important issue, and I referred to that at Exec Board as well last month. And at the point on about exercise and so on, early in the main lockdown, we had fantastic weather. People could get out, they could walk each day and so on. That's a bit more difficult as we move into autumn and winter, but we hope people can kind of do their best on that. In terms of briefings, yeah, I mean, you should be getting some briefings, so I'll certainly look at that, Julie, and I'm happy to talk tomorrow as well. So thanks for that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Damien.
Sorry, Mr. Just on Councillor Akhtar's point, I think it may have been about the play areas at Corporation Park, so I think maybe that can be reported under environment. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Damien Talbot. If there's no further objections, this report is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next report is from the Executive Member for Adult Services and Prevention, Councillor Desai.
Councillor Desai, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before I move the report, I'd just like to say that we are going through immensely challenging times, and the report itself reflects that it's business as usual for the department. And I'd just like to sort of, for the record, thank all the members of staff and the officers who are deeply passionate about their work and continue to discharge their duties despite the challenges that we've got. And with that, I'd just like to move the report, please.
Is the report seconded?
I second it.
Thank you. Any questions?
There's a question from Councillor Jackie Slater.
Go ahead, Jackie Slater. Councillor Jackie Slater, go ahead. Is there anybody else indicating?
Jackie is on mute. I don't know if you can turn off your mute, Jackie.
Is anybody else indicating?
There is no one else indicating they've got a question on that report.
Hello.
Oh,
Denise, she's
yeah.
just struggling with a computer. Are you on it now? Are you off mute?
Yeah,
On
we
mute.
could. Yeah,
Can
we
you
could.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Councillor Slater. Mr. Mayor, are you okay to take Councillor Slater's question now?
Yes, Jackie Slater, Councillor, go ahead.
I would like to ask the executive member, do you expect there be a large overspend on our portfolio, and what are your plans if my worst fears become a nightmare?
Councillor Desai, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, certainly. We don't expect to overspend. So I think the intention is not to overspend and break even position. It's a little bit early at the moment to sort of say that, but there have been huge pressures on the portfolio up till now due to COVID, and obviously we've got the winter around the corner. So obviously there will be winter pressures to add into the equation, but we will have some sort of better indication, you know, in the next couple of months.
Any further questions?
No, you can move on that report.
If there's no objections, this report is approved. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, in a slight deviation from usual procedure, the leader of the council has indicated that he forgot to answer a question from Councillor John Slater, and at your discretion, he's asking if he may respond to that point.
Yes, Councillor Khan, go ahead. If you unmute, please.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much appreciated. You have given me a chance to answer John Slater's question about the Unity Authority. This is not something new. I think we have been discussing this for probably 2 years, and I think in the Lancashire County Council about 5 years, Combined Authority and Unity Authority. And I think our application gone to Secretary of State in October 9th last year, almost 1 year now. And it was quite clear. We met the criteria, travel the work area, connections, populations, and all those criteria which are set by the government, we met it. And I think my only surprise is John is saying we need a 2 Unity Authority, not 3. County Council put for 3 Unity Authority in Lancashire. Preston put it 3 Unity Authority. Wyre put it 3 Unity Authority. And I'm really surprised that John has written a letter with me to Secretary of State with his signature that we would like to fully support the Penna and Lancashire Unity Authority. And I think Jake Berry, Member of Parliament for Darwin Rosendale, 100% behind it. And he's still very much interested to have a Penna and Lancashire Unity Authority. So I'm really surprised that John has changed his mind that he would like to have a 2 Unity Authority, whole Lancashire, 720,000 people. I don't know how he's going to work and how he's going to convince the people this is the right approach. We are not playing the party politics here. My own belief is we are here to serve the people, and we are here to do better whatever we can do for people who are elected us. To me, I've been fighting for the last 5 years with the County Council to make sure we are going to set up some kind of combined authority where we'll get £30 million for 30 years. But it seemed to be some of the councillors, district councillors, especially from the Conservative Party, they always come up with some kind of objections. We don't want elected mayor, or probably we don't want this, we don't want part of it. So all in all, John, my only concern is we need to be consistent. Once we make the probably decision, and I think we need to stick to it. And I think myself and you yourself make the decision about 1 year ago, signed 2 different letters to Secretary of State that would like to have a Penn and Lancashire Unity Authority, that I hope you could stand up and say that is my signature, and I'm committed to go for 3 Unity Authority. I don't know what's happening in the rest of the Lancashire, but I'm sure, Mr. Mayor, we put application in, which is valid application, meeting all the criteria. All the businesses are behind us. CCG, health services, police, Lancashire Fire and Rescue Services, all other partners, they are saying this is the best option. The people outside the Lancashire who are written to me that Penn and Lancashire is the right option for the Penn and Lancashire. What happened to the rest of the Lancashire, I have no idea. So John, please stick to your gun, and I hope you will support people of Penn and Lancashire that we would like to have a Unity Authority, which will be better, more effective, more efficient, more saving for the people and for the new Unity Authority. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for once again giving me an opportunity to speak again. Thank you.
Councillor Khan, can we go back to the agenda, please?
We can indeed, Mr. Mayor. The next item is the report from the Executive Member for Digital and Customer Services, Councillor Keza Mahmood.
Councillor Keza Mahmood, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before I move my report, just want to recognise, just like colleagues have earlier, the immense work being done by all officers of the council and the officers of my portfolio, no different to that. In these unprecedented times, we have to deliver the services for our residents, and a lot of that's been done through digital channels, and the IT teams have been working immensely hard right the way through to make sure that all residents can access our services, and I want to recognise that. And with that, I'll move my report and take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mahmood. Is this report seconded?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions?
We have Councillor Neil Slater.
Councillor Neil Slater, go ahead.
Right, go. Hello, as always, thank you so much for all the work we do together. But also, I'd like to just make one comment. As everybody is working from home and the council are getting used to this and remote things, are we looking at how much productivity we're all producing and what viable future we'll have, yeah, in using IT to a more prominent thing, saving the council money? Are we actually taking in the data for productivity, for sickness and everything else, so that in the future we can use IT to save the council money going forward?
Thank you, Councillor Neil Slater. Any further questions?
Councillor Floyd.
Councillor Floyd, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mine was more of a comment to say great thanks to Councillor Mahmood and his team, because I've palpably felt that the increase almost weekly in the quality of the app, with helping folk with their bins and cleaning up their alleyways and generally accessing council services. Your team is to be commended with the politeness and the speed with which they're making those rapid changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Floyd. Any further questions?
There are no other members indicating they've got a question for Councillor Mahmood.
Councillor Mahmood, do you want to sum up?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just on Neil's question, absolutely, we've got an immense amount of data, Neil, and I'm sure officers, executive members of other portfolios are looking at data, and data is going to be a really valuable tool as we move forward in this, sort of pandemic and the finances of the council. And we are living in challenging times, so absolutely, I'm pretty confident that every exec member will be looking at productivity, sickness, and various other data sources that we have to make sure that we make the most effective use of the digital channels and deliver services for our residents whilst making efficiency savings. So I'm pretty confident that all members will be doing that. And to Jackie's questions, comments, thank you, Jackie. Absolutely, I think like I've said, the guys have been working flat out, and they are delivering a lot of quality apps and quality digital solutions for our residents as we move forward, and I will pass your thanks and recognition on to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mahmood. If there's no objections, this report is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next report is from the Executive Member for Finance and Governance, Councillor McGurk.
Councillor McGurk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just an update on the report. Since the report was written, there has been a few updates that I'd like to mention. So first and foremost is with regards to the new scheme that has been announced, superseding the COVID monies with regards to self-isolation. We was a trial, as I mentioned in the report. However, that trial, from lobbying from ourselves and us in the trial, has now been increased, and we really welcome that from the government. That's gone up to £500. So that's been a change since the report was written. Further updates, in addition to this, with regards to the registrars, there's mention in there with regards to marriages in the Northgate Suite at 30, and obviously that will now have changed to follow the current allowable number as per the national guidance. Lastly, before I move the report, I just want to welcome the 20 new apprentices to their roles within the council across lots of different parts of the council, and I'm sure with the rest of the council members, wish them every success in their careers. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I move this report.
Is the report seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Councillor Bateson.
Councillor Maureen Bateson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to ask the executive member, with the likely reduction of the furlough scheme and the ending of the furlough scheme, what impact have we assessed this could have on the residents of the borough, businesses within the borough, but also the council itself? I know within my own ward I have businesses that, because of the current restrictions, can't even open. One, people will know my interest in this, will be Ewood Park, the home of Blackburn Rovers, but I also have a theatre in my ward, the arts and everything there, but also certain businesses that are having real difficulties, and staff now will be put at risk, and especially some in the hospitality industry. I know this could have an impact not only on those residents who will be affected most, but on the council itself. So I just wondered if the executive member could outline what the implications are for both.
Thank you, Councillor Bateson. Any further questions?
There are no other members indicating they wish to ask a question.
Councillor McGurk, do you want to sum up?
Yes, certainly. Thank you. Thank you for your question, Maureen. Actually, it's a really, really important question, and I think first and foremost, it's important to recognise exactly what you've said. There are a number of businesses that are having real significant impacts as regards to COVID. But with regards to your question on the impacts of the council, I'll just give a brief summary to my own to my own area of responsibility and what I can answer for. So, as a brief summary, in January 2020, the borough just had over 10,000 people of working age claiming universal credits. So that was pre-COVID. And at the end of August, it was 11,000, just short of 11,500 people, which was an increase of 13%. This figure, though, has increased significantly over the last few months, approximately May to August, and there's an average at the moment of 300 new claims to council tax benefits per month. Now, you mentioned furlough, and that's a really important key piece of information. As the furlough or the job retention scheme will end in the next few weeks, its replacement, the new job support scheme, as you've outlined, it isn't suitable across all sectors of businesses and employment. So whilst it's welcome for some, it's just not usable for others. For example, as you've said, football services, theatres, weddings would be another example, services of weddings. So they cannot use this scheme. It isn't cost effective. If the work for their employees is not there to begin with, they can't use it. In addition, as the borough continues to see high rises in COVID cases, many residents are not returning to our town centres or other parts of the borough. So we're forecasting, based on the current trajectory, of approximately 1,000 more people who will likely claim universal credits and therefore council tax benefits between now and sort of the next few months. This increase is probably expected to be up to 20% from the start of the year's numbers. The council tax benefit and the impact to the council is a loss of income to the council, as this money given in benefit is not recovered anywhere else. So the impact is devastating, as you've outlined, to families, to businesses, and it does have an impact on the borough. And hopefully that will answer your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Vicky McGurk. If there's no further objections, this report is approved.
Thank you. The next report is from the Executive Member for Growth and Development, Councillor Riley.
Councillor Riley, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will move the report and answer any questions.
Is that report seconded?
I'll second that report, thank you.
Any questions or comments on this report?
Councillor G.
Councillor G, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to read the 9.6 in the agenda with the exec member regarding the Blackburn growth deal and the transport link and the work that's going ahead on the Haslingden Road. It's been a long time coming. It's a massive upheaval, and it's just a shame that the years ago when we were all sat doing the planning for the new school on that road, I do recall that we all said then that that road wouldn't take the traffic that we were putting on it. But I welcome the fact that, you know, it's going ahead, the changes are coming. But I also want to mention that I'm delighted that the work's going ahead on the Milking Lane and the development there. And again, I do recall that when the school came for an extension, we referred to the members at the time that the road couldn't take it. But I'm delighted that we managed to get the funding through Jake Berry to do that. So I just wanted that noting that I'm grateful, but I think we should have done it sooner.
Thank you, Councillor G. Any further questions?
There are no other members indicating they've got a question.
Thank you. Councillor Riley, you want to come back?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, thank you to Councillor G.
Indicated.
Sorry, yes, thank you.
I think Councillor Brown is suggesting he's indicated. Unfortunately, yes. I can't see it in the chat.
Yes, I have.
It's okay, Councillor Brown, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Phil. My asking you about the development of the railway sidings in Darwin at Surrey Avenue. We're having a hell of a problem with the contractors there. They're ripping up trees left, right and centre. And the people on Surrey Avenue are going ape about it. And I believe you've been told about this catastrophe, what's going on there. And I just want to know if you've been in touch with the planning department to make sure that these trees are not removed, because there's some trees there which should be, and I think are protected. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown.
Councillor Julie Slater had indicated, apologies, Mr. Mayor, I missed that.
Councillor Julie Slater, go ahead. Councillor Julie Slater.
Oh. Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Julie Slater.
Hi, sorry about that. I'm trying to sort Mum's laptop out and I'm trying to do mine. Phil, on the report, you've mentioned about the increase in football with Blackburn, with Darwen. I just want to mention the footfall in Darwen, especially around the markets, as the traders have contacted me, really. They're very concerned that the market is closed all day on Tuesday, and with the restricted openings of the market and the car park on the Saturday, the opening times, and the limited access, like the butchers can have the meat, they're very concerned that they're not making the rent to pay their arrears off due to the COVID. Many are quite distressed about this, and they would like to increase the opening hours again back to normal, and maybe open Tuesday fully. When my father-in-law was alive, Councillor Fred Slater, when Blackburn joined Darwen, there was a Concord agreement that Blackburn would never let Darwen down and let them struggle. However, the residents of Darwen and the traders are feeling quite let down at the moment. I know you've had meetings with them, and I don't want to go into personal details. However, due to them not making the money due to lack of footfall, as it is due to COVID, and being expected to pay rents for the hours that they're not getting charged full rent, even though the hours are reduced, some people have had to go and claim universal credit because they're not making the money. So what we were thinking was that maybe that you close Blackburn Market on a Tuesday and let the shoppers come to Darwen and increase their trade that way. The Darwen traders think that's quite a good idea because it would help them pay the rent. So I know we are limited with staff, etc., due to COVID, but at the end of the day, these traders need to cover these rents and service charges, and they're feeling a bit perplexed as well regarding paying for service charges when they're not getting the full service as they normally were. I don't expect you to talk openly about it, but we could do it on a one-to-one if that's okay, because obviously I don't want to go into full detail on a public forum.
Thank you, Julie Slater. Any further questions?
There are no other questions, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Riley, can you sum up, please?
Well, if I just take that set of observations from Councillor Slater, well, a couple of points. I mean, I'm not steeped in Darwen history, but I thought that Tuesday was traditionally a half day in Darwen, and that the market has traditionally always been closed on a sort of on a Tuesday afternoon. And what happened was that the traders some weeks ago indicated that they wanted not to open on a Tuesday. I think, as I understand it, before COVID, the number of traders who were actually in on a Tuesday was very low. So they indicated that they didn't want to be open. Now, I mean, in the end, we will be able, we can open we can open again, and I'm quite happy that we'll take that offer up from them, because it will be a small extra charge in terms of additional staffing. But I mean, if that's what the traders want, then we'll certainly take that up. The question, obviously, I mean, the markets are both Blackburn and Darwen market are not doing as well as they were doing, and that's just simply because the footfall's not there. Blackburn, was particularly hit by us going number one in the virus list, which seemed to not the sort of the trade that was recovering after the lockdown. It hasn't really recovered in that sense. We made one major concession to the traders, which was to lose their rental charges for, I think, April, May and June. And I think we all agreed that that was a fair thing to do because they have been closed, but nonetheless, it is a cost. Now, we are hoping that the government will see it as being within their fees and charges, a thing that Councillor McGurk mentioned earlier. But even if they do, there's still a charge on the to Blackburn with Darwen Council of £180,000. So it will not be covered entirely. And we were pleased to do that. But clearly our difficulty is that the demands on the council from all sorts of traders, from all sorts of organisations, they're not getting any less, they are growing. And we are really struggling to make any further concessions to the market traders. Now, an offer has been made for one-to-one interviews so people who are in particular difficulties, who want to maybe spread out their repayments over a longer period of time, that there is an offer there that those people can have that interview. But at the moment, in honesty, we're struggling really to find the wherewithal to make any further concessions, having made what is really a very major one. Surrey Avenue, Paul, I think that's this Pillars site, isn't it? The back of the railway, by the railway line. Paul?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know it as Surrey Avenue. I think I worked out that. Yeah, okay, no, I mean, I did see some references to it, and we will have I'll make sure that I'll have a word with the officers and make sure that we talk to them again, because if they're doing anything, certainly if they're removing trees that are protected, then they're completely out of order. So I will certainly happily do that. Councillor G, well, thank you for liking the things that are going on. The Milking Lane development will be a good development. I think we're getting some commercial interest in there, which will be, which is good. In fairness, we had some very significant commercial interest in the site before the pandemic and before lockdown. So we're trying to hope that those businesses may well rekindle their interest as time goes on. And the Haslingden Road work is coming on at a great pace. There's new road is starting to look. You can see the new road cutting through the sort of land by the side of the reservoir. So, well, we're pleased. We want to see those two things continue. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. If there's no further objections, this report has been approved.
Mr. Mayor, that means the next report is from the Executive Member for Children, Young People and Education, Councillor Gunn.
Councillor Gunn, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I move my report, just a few things to bring to our attention, please. We've done a lot of work throughout COVID, as you'll know, with our partners, and I've said at the last few meetings now how proud I am to be to witness that work and the commitment of all of our partners and of all of our officers. So that's my starting point. With our number of children that we look after have remained steady throughout COVID. We've been able to stem the demand for external commission placements, keep that relatively steady, not seen any increase in that. There's been a great deal of scrutiny around the right work that's happening and the right care being given to the right children at the right time, and that's helped, I think, to identify where we've got movement and progress to be made, but where progress has already been made. So things like the CADS, the Children's Advice and Duty Service, since that's implementation, we've seen referrals reduced quite significantly. We've got a very strong early help offer, we've got a very strong edge of care and adolescent offer, and those have been really positive. So consequently, we've managed to maintain low use of costly agency places, and actually it's significantly lower than it has been for some time. In-house residential care has been used to capacity throughout COVID too. However, that's really positive, but I do have to just warn council that as schools have reopened to more pupils and more young people are known to us, we can anticipate that demand is probably going to increase. That's a national picture, it's mirrored across the country, so just to bring that to your attention. On a more positive note, the Holiday Activity Fund, the SEND inclusion programme and the targeted adolescent support programs that were delivered were really fantastic. I managed to attend a couple of those, and the feedback from young people, from their parents, but also importantly from the Department for Education has been really positive. Children with disabilities, most of those now, the majority back in school. Apple Trees are continuing to expand and develop their respite care and that support where it's safe to do so. And the bulk of the report, which it is a long report of course, but the bulk is about the return, the safe return for the majority of pupils to school. We had a really positive start. We were above average for children returning to school as soon as we opened. Or reopened to everyone, I should say. Schools never closed, did they? And that's continued to be a positive picture. And with that, I'll just move my report and take any questions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is that report seconded?
Second that report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, we've got questions, Mr. Mayor, from Councillor Rawat and now Councillor Sultan as well.
Councillor Rawat, go ahead.
Hi all, I just wanted to pass on my thanks, Councillor Gunn, to the team for all the work that they've done this summer with the activities that were provided, and also, you know, being mindful of all the guidelines and social distancing measures that they've put in place. I saw some positive feedback over social media, and especially all the detached work that's going on around the community as well. It's really positive to see, so please pass on my thanks to all of them.
Thank you, Councillor Rawat. Councillor Sultan.
Go
ahead.
Councillor Gunn, I'd like to again express my thanks to everyone in Children's Services for all the hard work they've put into schools and to families during this most difficult time. I realise that all the work that's gone in has come at more expense to everyone. But I was rather concerned when I saw the amount of overspend for Children's Services. I know that you gave me reasons for the overspend, but I'd just like to ask you, what are we doing to try to mitigate that overspend? Have we any plans in place, please, to try to make that overspend less, bearing in mind my next question, which might add more to your spend?
Thank you, Councillor Sultan. Any further questions?
Councillor Fazal.
Councillor Fazal, go ahead.
Hi. Hi, Julie. I spoke to you this week, as you know, via email, but I'm saying it just for the record of everybody, actually. Obviously, it was a worrying trend at first with the kids going back to school, and I'm sure there was a lot of pressure on Children's Services with several schools or years having to kind of be sent home. And it's good to see that that flow has kind of stemmed. My question is that I've had this week several emails from people within a certain school where a positive case within a staff member was noted. And the anxiety around this kind of issue, as you know, with current times is always quite high anyway. But these other staff members, and then it eventually relays back to members of the public who have kids at the schools, was quite high. So them emails were all about concern about the welfare of their children and the welfare of the teachers or the staff members who were feeling that they were having to go to school, knowing that there was a case, but the information hadn't officially been passed on to them and no comment was made by the school heads to relay such information back to them. As a way forward, obviously after speaking to yourself, it was noted that there's a procedure and that the schools were working within the guidelines given to them, and those goalposts may have changed over the last few weeks, and people aren't aware. But would it be an idea for, or is that a case where the heads of the schools are meant to relay this guidance back to the staff members in such incidents, so that people like us aren't having to take the brunt of these emails and to and fro when there's actually guidance already there for the schools? Because the procedure itself or the process would take 2 or 3 days anyway, and then it's those who are to and fro with the emails just to relay back the information that actually your school has got the guidance anyway. Would it not be an idea? Would it not be an idea for would it not be an idea for the heads to relay this information back to the staff members either prior or at the time? So I just wanted an answer and your views on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fazal. Any further questions?
Councillor McGurk.
Councillor McGurk, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say to Julie, and I guess as a councillor, as a resident of the council, but more importantly as a parent, with regards to schools, I think you pretty much had consensus that it's been such a brilliant job. I know I speak on behalf of probably many parents where you do have natural concerns when your children go back to school, but actually I have to commend one of my younger daughter's school, which I know there's a member on tonight who's one of the governors at Lower Darwen Primary School. They've been phenomenal. Really put myself and my husband and family at ease, and similarly with the other schools in the borough that my children go to. So it's a really fantastic job done, and I'm proud that the schools have gone back in the way that they have, and that the children are so well looked after. So thank you, Julie, and thank you to the rest of the team.
Thank you, Councillor McGurk. Any further questions?
Could I just check with Councillor Desai whether he had a question or not?
I have a question.
Yes, I did. Thank you,
Yeah.
Denise. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I've lost the ability to.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. First of all, Julie, thank you very much for your continued support with the schools and including the leadership team. I think you're doing a sterling job.
Getting on here.
You're doing a sterling job, and I think the response
and that.
Paul Brown, we can hear you. Can you let Councillor Desai finish?
Right, okay, I'll start again. Thank you very much, Julie, for your continued support and, you know, your the leadership team at the DSLT as well that you've got there. That you know you're doing a fantastic job in liaising and you know, with not only the schools but also with the madrasas as well. And I think that's an extension of the education sort of you know, the out of hours that we do as well. My one concern that I just wanted to quickly raise is regarding pupil attainment going forward, and in particular the year 11s, and we know that currently we're going through challenging times where, you know, there are bubbles being sent home, which include the year 11s and year 10s, and obviously, you know, sort of we've missed a huge portion of the you know, school term since March, and it's going to be detrimental to their learning outcomes going forward. So is there anything in place or any discussions happening that will try and sort of mitigate any of that going forward?
Thank you, Councillor Desai. Councillor Brown, do you want to come in? Councillor Brown?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is, I'm glad that the children and the students have all got back to school. That is a first-class job, and I'm suited about that. The one thing I want to know is this: how many of these students and the school lads and lasses go around this borough without their masks on when they come out of school? Now, this is not helping the situation one iota, and I want to know whether the head teachers of these schools throughout the borough, Blackburn and Darwen, are giving them to tell these pupils they have got to wear their masks. If not, we might as well not bother, because it's an absolute disgrace seeing young people walking around without their masks on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any further question?
There are no other.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Having heard Councillor Salton.
Yes, go ahead.
Having heard what's been said to Councillor Gunn regarding the information for parents, I am a school governor of 2 schools, and the information has been well sent out to the heads, and the schools that I am governor of have sent it to all parents and to all staff members at least 2 or 3 times a week. And I'd like to say thank you for that, because parents have been well informed. And regarding the children that are obviously missed out on so much education, lots of schools did do a sterling job in sending work to children in lockdown. Can I just ensure that Councillor Gunn will try to maintain that the work that does go home is linked to the learning outcomes of the year group, and that parents do know that, so that then I think they might be more inclined to help the children and make sure that the children use this opportunity at home and not just think it's a way of keeping them quiet. Thank you, Councillor Gunn.
Any further questions?
Councillor Floyd.
Councillor Floyd, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In response to Councillor Brown again, I think he needs to refresh the guidelines, his understanding of the guidelines and legislation around masks wearing. Everyone knows that I'm a nurse. I am pro mask wearing. When children come out of school, they're in the open air. That is not a situation where you have to wear a mask. It is tough getting the message through to everybody, and this council, more than anybody, we led the way with the leadership by our public health from Damien's team and Professor Dominic Harrison in giving the guidelines about understanding where the transfer of this virus occurs. So please, yes, let's give out the message and give out the proper message. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Floyd. Any further question?
There are no other members indicating they've got a question.
Thank you. Can I ask Julie to sum up, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for your questions and comments, everybody. I think I've got the right order, but if I haven't, please forgive me. So, Zainab, absolutely agree. Your thanks will be passed on. I feel like I'm saying thank you a lot to that hard-working team at the moment, and they deserve every word of thanks that they get. They are doing a sterling job. They continue to our youth services continue to have face-to-face contact as soon as it was safe to do so, but maintain contact in other ways as well. So that will be passed on. Thank you, Lillian. Yes, again, I'll pass on your thanks. The costs of COVID, I think we had quite a detailed conversation because you couldn't get to the scrutiny committee, could you, because of internet problems. But the costs of COVID have been calculated. They've all been line by line accounted for and justified, and they're forming part of our return to the department. We did do a piece of work across the Northwest. I'm a member of the Northwest portfolio holders, and we collectively put a piece of work together to demonstrate the additional cost of COVID. And I have to say that whilst they have put extra pressure on this council, and of course they have, and I have to acknowledge that, I have to say that in comparison to our statistical neighbours, I'm very proud of the way we've been able to keep our budget as much as under control as possible. So that's despite the extra support that's been required to support schools, to support all of our services. There have been additional costs that are outside of our control. So when the courts weren't able to open and hear cases, that meant that unfortunately children with a plan to move them forward, there were delays there. There have been other delays that are outside of our control as well, in terms of court hearings, for example. So in terms of what we're doing about that, in terms of how we address our budget pressures, I, along with every other portfolio holder at this council, is working with my director to ensure that we are scrutinising and challenging every penny that's spent and looking to see where we can create more efficiencies. I've already spoken tonight about the Children's Advice and Duty Service. That's reduced the number of referrals, that will reduce our demand, that will reduce our costs. We've also managed to keep our commission placements under control. As I said, we've reduced those, and we hope to be able to maintain that momentum that's been created, and that's due to the hard work again to our officers who are aware of the pressures that this council are facing after 10 years of austerity and 10 years of cuts and a budget that's been cropped and cropped and cropped at a time when demand has increased and increased, and that's the reality of it, I'm afraid. But we are very cognizant of the fact that we do need to take responsibility for that and do everything we can to make sure that costs aren't escalating unnecessarily. TASI, yes, we've spoken about this issue. I think one of the issues about bubbles closing is that, and I'll admit, before I got the detail, I would assume that if there was any cases in a school that all the class would need to close, sorry, the whole year might need to close, and those kind of things. We know now that it's much more closely maintained, and it does come down to the question of what constitutes a close contact. There's very clear government guidance on that, and our education response team that has been established to support schools and the madrasas through that training and that offer of support has been extended to all partners, whether they're a maintained school or not. That has sought to ensure clarity around these issues because it is confusing. Every parent should have had the information, will have had the information. Every head teacher's had the information and has participated in creating risk assessments and completing those with local authority help from Public Health and HR. And every governor should have had access to those as well. So back to, as Lillian's reinforced, the communication should have been really strong on that. We've also worked with the Lancashire Council of Mosques to have the letters that are given to parents translated into various languages, so that shouldn't present an issue either. Vicky, as a parent, I share those concerns too. I had my reservations, and the only time my reservations were kind of eased was once I saw the level of work and commitment that has gone into making sure that schools are as safe as they possibly can be. That's down to every single member of staff, to the head teachers that attended the school improvement group strategy meetings on a weekly basis, all through from I think they started at the beginning of April, and they've continued, the latest one being this morning. Monitoring this and keeping a really close eye on this, because the educational attainment of our young children is so important to their futures, but so is their social life that they have at school, so is their emotional support that they get from seeing friends and teachers, etc. So it's vital that children are returned to school safely, and I will pass on your comments because I know that that's every teacher's priority and certainly every member of our department's priority, to ensure that children feel safe and looked after at school. Mustafa, you're right. I think you were talking about the work with the Lancashire Council of Mosques, and educational attainments, and how year 11s and the current year 13s are going to be impacted upon. Again, with the North West portfolio holders, we've compiled a letter. I'm the deputy chair now of that group, and we've compiled a letter to the minister asking that under no circumstances do exams take place under normal circumstances. So we either look at reducing the curriculum so that we give children, young people, a fair chance when it comes to sitting exams, but we also have to take account of the gaps in education. I don't mean now, because I think if a school bubble has to close, schools are on it. They're really good. They're really strong at getting straight back to making sure that there's a work pack that goes home, that there's online access for learning to continue. So those gaps, those gaps should be reduced. But the bigger gaps were earlier in March, weren't they? From March through to at the end of the summer term, really, for the then year 10s and the then year 12s. they did lose some valuable time, and I think it's really, really important that that's taken account of. So yes, we are lobbying government to make sure that that's considered going forward. Paul, Jackie Floyd's already answered that children don't need to wear masks. Children under the age of 11 don't need to wear them anyway, but young people don't have to wear masks in public open spaces. But they do, most schools are asking children to wear masks in corridors and things like that. So even if it looks like they're not outside of school, once they're in the educational establishment, they will be wearing them unless they're exempted from that. Yes, and back to Lillian's point about information to parents. It has been good, hasn't it, Lillian? And thank you, I will pass that on. I think that's everybody's questions and comments, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Julie Gunn. If there's no further objections, this report is approved.
Mr. Mayor, the next report is from the Executive Member for Environment, Councillor Jim Smith.
Jim Smith, Councillor, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I move the report, I'd also like to pass on my thanks to our staff through this very difficult time, the amount of work that they've had to take on extra, but also I would like to pass on my thanks to the residents for their patience, because they've absolutely been spot on, not complained about having to register online or ring up to get an appointment at the tips. They haven't done that. They've accepted it, and I would really like to pass on my thanks. And with that, I'll move this report to take any questions.
Is the report seconded?
Second that report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Firstly, Councillor Hardman.
Councillor Hardman, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My query is regarding the obviously the introduction of the blue bins. I know at the early stages with a number of residents who said they didn't want the blue bins. Was there a need for the blue bins? Were there going to be value for money, obviously, around the cost? I know it's early stages, but what I would like to ask is, would Councillor Smith keep us updated on how much they are being used, what the tonnage is going to be, you know, as we go along, you know, and is it saving us money? That's one query. And the second one was a bit concerning. A week ago, I queried it with the department regarding a number of residents raising a query regarding emptying the blue bins on an estate and then coming onto Liberty Branch Road and emptying grey bins straight into the back of the same wagon. Now, I was told that they would look at the tracker and the cameras and obviously would be able to disprove it or prove it one way or the other. Obviously, it's very concerning if it is proved. I've had to chase the department this week, which is very, very unusual, to be told that this data and this footage isn't available. Now, I have great concerns about that because I cannot go back to the residents and say, no, they weren't being used for both. But if they are being used for both, I think it's a bit of a PR disaster. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hardman. Any further questions?
Councillor Marrow.
Councillor Marrow, go ahead.
Good afternoon, good evening, Councillor Smith. Now that the blue bins collections commenced in August, can you ensure the council that the waste and recycling budget will not go over budget this year? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marrow. Any further question?
Councillor Brown.
Councillor Brown, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Jim, can I ask, can you tell me the actual protocol of collecting bins with the lids which are open at the top when the bin wagons come to collect up? Because according to what I've been told, they will not pick them up and put them in the wagon. Now then, this is my question to you. This morning I was going down through into Lower Darwin when I saw our bin wagon outside the Gypsies site, and I saw 4 bins being wheeled out with the lids wide open, and it just got tipped into the back of the wagon. Now, is there rules for one and rules for another? Because if this is going on throughout the borough, this is why we're in such a state. And I just want to know if that crew were doing the proper thing. If they're doing it there, they should do it everywhere, Jim. I'm sorry to tell you that, because I appreciate what these guys do, and they do a damn good job. But when I saw that this morning, I was right disappointed, mate. Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Any further question?
No other members are indicating, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Jim Smith, can you sum up, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Derek, yes. I mean, I presume you listened to all the briefings and all the reasons why we went to Blue Bins. The initial saving in itself was that if we'd have stayed as we were, we'd have paid £1,200,000 a year to carry on as we are. Or we pay £360,000 a year to do the same recycling. So your savings there right away. The quality of the paper that is now turning up at the recycling factory is a lot better. Well, it's 100 times better than it was, because it was mixed in with all kinds of stuff when we were sending it before. So the quality is there. So that is the absolute savings there. Secondly, if a team did do that, now I have no knowledge of this, but if they did do that, I would suspect that it would get sacked. If you were to mix both together, you would get sacked. Now, somebody may have made a mistake. I will chase that up tomorrow and find out if they did make a mistake and get back to you. However, I haven't heard this. I had a briefing the other day and nobody mentioned it to us. So I'm presuming it's not happened. Paul? Oh, you want to know if you present a bin and it's open, now I'm presuming you're talking about red bins here. Yes? Could you answer us, Paul?
Bins.
Oh, not Paul Marrow.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Paul Brown. Go on, Paul.
Oh, sorry, it's to the Paul you want. Sorry.
No, it's you. I want to know were they the burgundy bins?
Yes, they were the burgundy bins.
Well, then they just get collected. There's a problem if they are the recycling bins, because if you left the blue bin open, it got full of water, it would ruin it, wouldn't it? So that would be a problem with burgundy bins, because I've seen them outside here. With my wife sometimes leaves ours to be a gap. Yes, they collect them. As for just collecting from traveller sites differently, no, they don't. It's a borough-wide, and that's how we do it. Paul Marrow's question about will the budget be sound? I hope so, yes. I mean, I bet that if there's problems in the budget, it's going to be through loss of income. Because last year we came in 200,000 under budget. Now, we've lost a lot of income due to parking and tickets and the cameras on these streets. We've lost a lot of income, but we're on top of it. I hope that's answered all your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jim. If there's no further objections, this report is approved.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, move on to the next item of business to advise you that no questions have been received from members under Procedure Rule 11. And Mr. Mayor, before we conclude, the leader would like to make a final comment, if you would allow that, please.
Yes, Councillor Khan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My video is working now. Before I thank you, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make the announcement which I just received from my communication department. National Health Service COVID-19 app roadshow is taking place in Blackburn tomorrow. We have been informed today that there will be a roadshow, a proposal making team visiting Blackburn and 20 other local places and speak to general public and businesses. A multi-language team will be in town delivering information to encourage download the app and support businesses with QR poster. With 2nd October till 5th of October, the main area of focus will be Preston New Road, Ravage Road, New Bank Road, 4-lane and surrounding area near East Lancashire Cricket Club. Our public protection teams are working with them to help the local knowledge and explain the impact of this app. So that's something which I hope member will take, and probably people who are listening, they will be able to probably look at this app system, and they will probably help you how to load it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's my comments, and my sincere thanks to you presiding this meeting and all the members who attended it. I wish you all a good evening. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Councillor Khan, for the update. And can I also thank everyone for your contributions and a very constructive meeting. Take care, stay safe. It's getting cold out there now, so stay indoors. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Bye, Mr. Mayor. Bye, everyone.
Thank